Hey everybody, God's Child and NC here. I'm back for my next project. Got my tarp laid out. I'm gonna put some extra tie outs on it. You've got all these clips and everything you can move around and whatnot. Well, I'm gonna try something a little different. Duct tape. What I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna follow my grommet lines. Do an imaginary line from my grommet line here, up from this grommet line here. Okay, it meets right here in the middle. I'm going to take, I don't know, probably about 4 or 5 inches of duct tape, lay down part of it, pinch it, lay down another part of it. Just make me a loop right there. Do that all the way down, both sides. It'll automatically come across the middle as I do it. So what I'm probably going to do is add 1, 2, 3. So I'll probably end up adding like 6 tie outs here. So because of the fact that I'm going to add, because I got 2 rows of 3. Because of the fact that I'm doing that, now I'll have 4 rows. 5 rows of 4. So that'll give me like 20 tie out points on this. And when I'm done this side, I'll flip it over and do the other side and give you a rundown of how it went, how this works. Alright guys, here it is. As you can see, I mean, it's not real pretty, but it'll work. As you can see, I got it taped down. You can press your edges down real well, and this is just plain old black Gorilla Tape, and I mean, Gorilla Tape sticks to pretty much everything. There it is. I'm just going to run a whole bunch of those down and finish it up. Maybe on the next one I'll tell you how it went. Hey everybody, just a quick conclusion to the duct tape tarp loops. Went out, tried it out, did an overnight camp, and what I found is they work really well. They'll probably won't work as well in colder weather just due to the properties of the duct tape. But what I found out is it's a little difficult to pass cordage or anything else underneath my tarp loops. And it's just because of the way the tarp loop is set up. There's too much material in the loop section itself. So what I decided for a modification is this. This is your full size piece of duct tape. Cut out a 1/4 of it on this side, 1/4 of it on this side. That way you can squeeze it together and still leave it open, so you have a full size footprint here with half as much material here. And I think that would work really well. The other modification that I was thinking I would do is I would take and just make it longer. So that way, when you make it, you've got your loop. You've got your loop set up this way with the 2 pieces of duct tape here on your tarp and the big piece in the middle. And of course, you'd have it folded in half, but this paper's not as flexible. But anyways, you'd have a large loop like this in the middle, and that way your loops aren't directional. With the way they are right now, they're kind of directional because you don't have enough to swing it around. With this loop, it gives you enough you can turn the loop the other way. You could twist the top of that loop and leave you enough room for cordage inside that loop going the opposite direction. And what that'll do is that gives you more flexibility in the way you set up your tarp. That's the whole reason for putting these additional tie outs on the tarp to begin with, is additional flexibility for how you're going to attach and how you're going to set up your tarp. The way I had mine set up is it was kind of a yucky rainy night. I ran it my typical setup with one cord setup, which I obviously used more than one cord because I used it as my loops as tie downs on the back of my tent. But I only ran it my tarp 6 foot wide, so I took the 2 foot end and just let the 2 foot end hang down, and that gave me protection from the wind and the rain on one end. The opposite end, and of course the wind shifts as I get ready to get to bed. So on the other end, I just took my poncho and got it up underneath the toggle that held the front edge of the tarp and covered up the back, that end of the tent, or my end of the tarp I should say, giving me a 3-sided tent. Worked out really well. I didn't get wet at all that night, and it rained enough that it put my fire out. And I still ended up staying pretty warm. My blanket modifications worked really well. Kept my torso really warm. I had several layers of clothes on, just like I normally would lay down. I actually took off the very top layer before I laid down and went to bed, and I stayed just fine. Temperature probably got down into the low 40s, upper 30s, and I was good all night long. Torso stayed real warm. But in any case, I'm rambling on now. So this is God's Child and NC. Until the next one, everybody have a good time. God bless. Be safe in the woods.